Hello everyone. Okay, so in this video we are looking at quadratic functions and how to plot them. So in this video we're just looking at the shape of quadratic functions and going to plot one example. In the next video we're going to look at interpreting graphs, how to read from graphs, and we're going to answer more kind of real life problems with quadratic functions. So quadratic functions. A quadratic function is in the form f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. You should recognize this from the minus b formula, right? So this is called a general form. So this here is the general form of a quadratic, where a is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is just my constant term. So if a is greater than 0, i.e. my leading coefficient, so remember my leading coefficient is the coefficient of my x term with the highest power. So if my leading coefficient is positive, my quadratic makes a U shape. So if it's positive, it makes a smiley face, yeah? If it's positive, it smiles. If it's less than 0, i.e. it's negative, if it's negative, it makes an N shape. So it's like sad, it's negative, it's frowning, or you think of N for negative. If it's positive, you get a U shape. If it's negative, you get an N shape. So what else do we need to know about quadratic graphs? Well, we know wherever it crosses the x-axis is called the roots of a quadratic graph. So here we go, we have the x-intercepts here. So this quadratic passes when x equals -1 and x equals 5. So they're known as solutions and or roots to a quadratic equation. We have our y-intercept here. And remember, I've got y-intercept here, and -5 is going to be equal to c, always. And then we have a maximum or minimum point. So this is kind of a key one here. So see, we go, the little apex here, the lowest point on this graph is called a minimum point. If you look over this graph over here, it actually has a maximum. So positive graphs have a minimum point, and a negative graphs have a maximum point, right? So think of like min chin, right? So the minimum point is on the chin of the graph, and then here we go, we have the maximum point, like the max point on a hill or something. So negative graphs have a maximum point, positive graphs have a minimum point. So how do we plot a quadratic graph? Well, it's the exact same method we use for plotting a linear function. We use our table of values method. So we set up a table, we have our inputs, we have our function, we have our outputs, and then we have the coordinates. So let's look at an example here. So graph the function minus x squared plus 6x in the domain 0 is less than or equal to x, or is less than or equal to 6. So that means my inputs range from 0 to 6. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then what else can I know from my graph? Well, if I notice here, my x squared here is negative, right? It's negative. So I know negative quadratics give me an N shape. So I should have a shape like this when I'm done at the end. So what we need to do is here, we're going to sub in our points. So I have x is 0, I sub it in, so it'll be minus 0 squared plus 6 times 0, which is 0. So my first coordinate is 0, 0. Minus 1 squared plus 6 times 1, which is 5. So my second point is 1, 5. Next point, minus 2 squared plus 6 times 2, which is 8, which is going to be 2, 8. So recall, the minus here is outside my x squared. So minus 2 squared is not the same as minus 2 all to be squared, okay? So we have to sub it in for that x value first. So if it was like a minus number, then it'd be minus 1 all to be squared or whatever. But the negative is on the outside of my x bracket, so you always have to be very careful with your signs. So you do that for the rest of them here, and you have all of your points. So you have 3, 9, 4, 8, 5, 5, and 6, 0. So let's plot these points out. So 0, 0, that's my first point here. 1, 5, that's going to be 1, 5, that's here. 2, 8, go to 2 on my x-axis, go to 8 on my y-axis. Boom, there it is. 3, 9. So go to 3, go up to 9. 4, 8. So see how I am getting this kind of curvy shape, right? 5, 5. And then 6, 0. So then here is my, whoops. You know what? You are going to do much better than me. Ding, 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 ding. There you go. There's my quadratic. It has an end shape or has a kind of a curvy shape and it's pointing downwards. So I know I'm right. And it has a maximum point. It doesn't ask us here, but look, it has a maximum point of 3, 9. So it has a maximum point of 3, 9. Right? And that's it. Another way to do it, remember, is to use our calculator. So I'm just going to show you our calculator really quick. There it is right there. Let me just adjust this now a second. Right. So here's our calculator. So remember, we can use the exact same table of functions like we did with our linear functions. So I go to menu. I want to go to table, so I click 3. I type in my function here. So it's minus x squared. So remember, I want to access this x right here. So I have to click alpha to get that squared plus 6x. That's it. Ignore that part. So my domain is from 0 to 6. So start with 0, end at 6, go open ones, and there we have it. Our exact same table of values here. 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 5, 1, 5, 2, 8, 3, 9, etc. etc. And we have the exact same table of values there. And you can use this for any quadratic graph. And that's all we need to know about plotting quadratics. So in my next video, we're going to be looking at interpreting graphs and reading graphs, finding max, min points, increasing, decreasing, all that fun stuff. And we're looking at real life examples. And so if you found this, I hope you found this helpful. And I'll catch you guys later. Bye.